Good afternoon, YouTubers. It is Monday, August 4th, and I've got my weekly garden update for you up here in Wisconsin. Got some exciting things here. As you can see, the tomatoes are looking a lot more red than they were in the past. I'll zoom in and show you. I've been harvesting like crazy, and I need to be doing more. Here's what our tomatoes are looking like. Those are the brandywines. We had kids over here the other day, and the sweet pea currants, I told them they could just pick and eat, and they ate them like crazy. It was adorable. We had like 10-15 kids, and they were all just going to town. Here's those brandywines. Sheboygan tomatoes. Everything's just ripening in mass. And it looks like there's not a lot of the cherry tomatoes, but believe it or not, it's because we've been eating them like crazy. And if you look over here, we're getting the third layer up is starting to ripen over on this side. So they're looking great. I harvested a ton of cucumbers, actually 21 cucumbers, followed by another one the next day. They were all about, let's see here, about the size of that one in there. They were absolutely huge. I'm going to try to see if I can drop that clip in here so you guys can see the harvest. But I actually brought a bunch over to a local food pantry. So I recommend that to all those gardeners out there. If you ever have extra harvest, go to ampleharvest.com. You can find a food pantry that will take fresh produce. And they're very appreciative. It's a great thing to do. Over here, our dragon tongue bush beans. I am going to be letting some of these just kind of wrap up. I'm going to pull a bunch out, but I'm going to let some that are really heavy go so that I can actually collect the seeds from them. Our hot peppers are looking fantastic. They're just more and more popping up on here all the time. And I actually need to get out here and harvest some more of these. You can see there's a lot of them there. Bell peppers are getting nice and ruby red. You see in here we got these little guys. Although they were a bit of a disappointment in the beginning, they're kind of growing on me a little bit because I've been cutting them up and putting them into omelets, and that's been really, really kind of nice. Bell peppers over here are starting to finally get some growth. You can see another one popping up in here. So it wasn't a huge success with the bell peppers this year, but it's doing okay. And as you can see, these cucumbers are refilling in nicely. Again, with the cucumbers and things like that, the more you pick, the more they're going to grow. I harvested all the peppers off of here, and you can see that they're really popping up and making new peppers for me. So that was a good call. Over here is one of my most exciting things. This is a watermelon. It is actually a real life watermelon. It's about the size of a baseball, I would say, and growing a little bit more every day. Got a whole lot of little baby watermelons tucked away in here. I'll spin around the side in just a second and show you some of our cantaloupe as well. But if you look down here, you see our beets are starting to come in nicely, and our turnips are doing absolutely fantastic. Something looks like they're eating them, but they're still growing like gangbusters, so I'm good with that. And carrots are still, hey, who knows? Who knows what's going to happen with these carrots? But at least the beets are doing well, and so I've got no complaints there. So over here are two cantaloupes, I believe. These are watermelons right here. 1, 2, 3. There's a couple more tacked around here, but this cantaloupe is actually ones that I just I took from the seeds that we had from a melon. My wife said, "Can you grow this?" I took some of the seeds and we planted them, and here's what we got. We'll see what it turns into. I don't normally recommend planting things that you got from the grocery store, but I gave it a whirl, and we're getting something growing. So we'll see how that looks as it develops. But the watermelon are going up the trellis just fine. Seems to be working well. Just have to train them up every once in a while, but that plan is working. They're running away a little bit on me, but I don't really mind. It's not such a big deal. We're starting to have some squash over here, as you can see. There's about 1, 2, maybe 3 on this plant. Yep. 1, 2, 3 little guys on this plant here. and one over here on this plant. So we'll see how those do. They seem to be doing fine, but I think they're a little bit inhibited by the container that they're in. They're not growing as well as my other stuff that's in my compost. Over here is an update on my asparagus, and although I need to weed it a little bit, what is exciting is that these stalks that are coming up are actually getting really, really significant. They look a lot bigger than the ones that were coming up at the beginning of the season. They're really getting thick now, and I'm thinking that's a good sign. They're still leaning over eventually, but hey, it's all good. As long as these are nice coming up thick, I'm going to be really happy. And I'm thinking for next year I'm going to actually dig these up and drop them into a raised bed, just because I think it's going to be easier for me to manage and weed, and my wife wants to put flowers back here next year, so that's what we're thinking. But the asparagus is looking really good. Onions, no big news. I've got one that's flowering over here. They're not doing great. I've got some that are starting to get some decent size on them, but it's not going to be a major successful year with onions this year. But hey, it was the first time. I'm going to do onions from seed next year. People have told me that onions from seed grow significantly better than ones that are as onion sets. So I'm going to try that next year. But the one cool thing that I'm going to show you guys is this. This is a volunteer from my compost pile. I had a pumpkin that I threw in my compost last year, and I believe one of the seeds germinated, and I think this is going to be a big pumpkin. It is starting to run significantly. I'm going to have to really kind of train it so that it doesn't overrun my onion patch, but our little volunteer pumpkin. I'm going to take you guys inside, and I will show you some of our harvest that we have had, the tomatoes and the cucumbers and things like that. I'll drop those in, and other than that, have an excellent week. 21 big cucumbers here, and one big honking head of broccoli. And here are some of the beautiful tomatoes we've been harvesting. That's a smaller one. Here's a nice big brandywine. And here's a nice, good sized Sheboygan tomato. So there you go. So here are some of those lovely peppers stuffed, cooked with cheese on top, meat, rice. Wonderful fruits of the labor in the garden.